If you want $65 from me, I want my Goku to look like this. That's what I want for $65. If you want $65, I want that as an action figure. No, it's unacceptable, man. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Like, it's honestly, like, it's actually like upsetting to see. I'm like, seriously? So you're making this as a statue, and then this is the figure you give me for like $62? No, no, man. Like, no, right? You think this is worth $62? Look at this. Really look at this. Look at the source material. Look at the source material. Look at this artwork. And then look at this. You think that is worth $62? No. You want $62? You give me this as an action figure. All right, guys. Today we are going to be doing one of my favorite pastimes, which is, of course, roasting Bandai. We're going to be calculating the actual price that SH Figuarts figures should be, okay? Not the price you paid on Amazon, not the price you got scalped for on Premium Bandai, but the actual price you would be paying if Bandai was a just and fair company, okay? If you're new to the channel, just be aware I spend quite a lot of time roasting Bandai. If you don't like that, you know, you think I should just shut up and pay the $80, then this is probably not the video for you. Or you could troll me in the comments, whichever you prefer. But yeah, so let's get into this. I made a presentation here basically outlining, because eventually we're going to get to a tier list where I'm going to like actually show you the actual numbers. We're going to actually crunch the numbers, okay? But before we get to that point, I want to explain to you my whole thought process behind this video, why I'm making this video, why I think this is an important thing to bring up, because I feel like a lot of SH Figuarts collectors, probably like the vast majority, are not aware of just how much they're being scammed, okay? Like, SH Figuarts should be way better than they are for the price that we're paying for these things, okay? So here's the agenda. First, we're going to cover why am I making this video, okay? Because there's actually a very specific recent event that kind of sparked my, you know, thoughts about this, and those thoughts led me to making this video, okay? Then we're going to go over the Storm Arena Ryu figure. If you know, follow my YouTube posts and stuff, you would know I posted about this figure like a few days ago, probably at this point. And honestly, with how good that figure looks for the price that it is, it really just kind of gave me like an SH Figuarts red pill, where I could see like, wow, man, like these things are so overpriced, you know? We're gonna get to all of that though. Then after the Ryu overview and stuff, we're gonna talk about Games Begin Goku, as well as I think like one other figures in there. Then we're gonna outline the pricing rules of this like pricing tier list, okay? So like, you know, how much do I think a pair of hands is worth, a head sculpt is worth, an accessory is worth, that kind of stuff, all right? And then finally, we'll get to the pricing tier list. And I will put chapters in the video, so like if someone wants to just like skip to the tier list, you can do that. But I don't really recommend doing that, because you want to have a proper understanding of how I arrived at these numbers, right? I didn't just like pull them out of thin air like, oh, this should be 50, this should be 30, whatever. Of course, there's going to be some subjectivity in like, you know, pricing in general, but I am going to try to anchor this in something that is pretty concrete and not just like nothing but opinion, but it has some real world application or some kind of real comparison we can draw to actual products on the market right now, outside of course, SH Figuarts Dragon Ball, right? So first, why am I making this video? Okay, the Zarbon and Dodoria reveal, I believe, was like the main catalyst for me, because when Bandai had revealed that there were going to be like a set of two in like one, you know, one purchase together, I was like, okay, this is interesting. I was thinking like, you know, that Bandai would basically make them like a good deal, because let's say usually in like the action figure world, right, a 2-pack of figures is usually a bit of a discount. Like you would say, let's say one figure is typically $20. you could buy a 2-pack for $35 instead of $40, you know, so you get like a slight discount for buying the 2-pack as opposed to buying like 2 figures separately. But in Bandai's case, to my great horror, and I should not have been surprised, the Dodoria and Zarbon set, it's $165. So that works out to $82.50 per figure. That's no deal. Why are they a 2-pack? Like, what's the point? You may as well list them each for 80 or whatever, like 82, whatever. I was really hoping that Bandai would make this feel like a really good deal. You'd be like, wow, each figure is like, that's 60 per figure or something, like, you know, like some kind of good deal like that. But no, as usual, Bandai has it priced so that each figure is basically 80 flipping dollars, dude. So it's like, why is Zarbon $80? Why is Dodoria $80? You know, this kind of stuff. So it really disappointed me and made me start thinking more about this. And the thoughts, of course, as I said, led to this video, right? So during that time of thinking about the Zarbon and Dodoria stuff, I remembered Storm Arena as well. Because I have two Storm Arena figures. I have Ryu and I have Ken. And every time like I look at the Ryu and the Ken in general, you know, or oftentimes I look at them and I'm like, man, these things look like statues with joints. Like, that's how good they look. They look like works of art with joints, you know. And most SH Figuarts don't look like that. In fact, I mean, none of them might, because they don't even have that great shading, you know, to like really compete in that way. So yeah. Now, I know that, you know, many collectors share my views on this, like being frustrated with Bandai's pricing and stuff. And my hope with this video is, well, first of all, of course, to really highlight just how widespread this dissatisfaction with Bandai is, because I think it is more widespread than we, you know, might see, and people's like comments and all that kind of stuff. Because, you know, usually, at least in my experience, whenever someone like starts criticizing Bandai's price or saying something about the pricing, there's going to be at least one person who's going to be like, oh dude, you're just being negative, or like, oh, you're just nitpicking, that kind of stuff. You know, it's like, dude, you're not going to ask me to pay $80 for a 2-inch tall figure and tell me I can't say how ridiculous that is. No, it's not happening, okay? And of course, you know, some people have actually decided to just not collect SH Figuarts anymore. They've just stopped collecting the figures, you know? I think when the Krillin was revealed for $80, I saw someone on Reddit was like, yeah, I'm done collecting, or, you know, they just stopped collecting SH Figuarts as far as I could tell. And a lot of people have done that. A lot of people have stopped collecting the line. And if, you know, that becomes super widespread, like you see people leaving in droves, I mean, Bandai's gonna have to like address that, you know. And of course they have tried to. We'll talk about that in a bit. Let's continue the notes here. So yeah, hopefully me making this video will help to give a voice to those people who, like, you know, they get shut down, they get told to stop nitpicking and stop being negative and all that kind of nonsense. You know, it's like, this is reality. This is reality. $80 for a little tiny figure is ridiculous. That's just a fact of life. It's just, you know, it's just, yeah. If you're fine paying the $80 for a little tiny Krillin or whatever, go ahead and do it. But someone else who doesn't feel good with that pricing, you know, can say that, okay? So will Bandai listen to this? Will Bandai listen to us? Will they change anything? Probably not right now, but it could happen eventually, right? And they have done some stuff which to me indicates that they're at least aware. Bandai, I believe Bandai's aware. I mean, how could they not be, right? I think Bandai's aware of the mass frustration, the mass disgruntledness with their pricing, okay? And they have done some stuff to try to address that, but they haven't done enough in my opinion, okay? And I believe that if enough collectors start expressing these sentiments in, you know, without having to worry about somebody just being like, oh, you're nitpicking, or like, you know, that kind of stuff. Just being like, this is just like, it's okay, okay? It's okay to say you don't like the price of this figure. It's okay to say this price is ridiculous. It's okay to say $100 for a flipping Glorio is insane. It's okay to say that. There's no problem with that, okay? And I think many people would agree with that, okay? I mean, how could you not agree that $100 for that Glorio is just crazy, okay? So, yeah, as I was saying, If enough collectors start expressing these sentiments and voting with their wallets like I do, Bandai will have to adjust. They have to. They would have to. At a certain point, they would have to, because they are losing money in some way, right? Every time you don't buy a figure, they've lost a sale. Every time I don't buy a figure, they've lost a sale, right? If Glorio was like $60 max, $50 preferably, $40, I would have probably gotten him because I wanted to animate Goku versus Glorio. But when I saw that disgusting price, I was like, I'm not buying that. I'm not paying $100 for that Glorio, dude. I'm not doing it, okay? Same thing with the Krillin, $80 for that? No, okay, not happening. So let's continue now. Many collectors think that, like, it's pointless to criticize Bandai's pricing. They think, like, you know, there's no point in saying anything because they're not going to do anything, right? They will never change and that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's necessarily true, because look at the SHF, like, best selection Goku, right? Why did they make that? Because of people complaining about how expensive Legendary Super Saiyan Goku is. They're like, why is he $65, $67, $70, whatever? Why? You know, why is the price so insane? Right now, as I'm recording this, as far as I haven't checked the website right now, but it should still be going on. I think it ends on like December something, 28th or something. So right now, Premium Bandai has a free shipping deal, right? A free shipping on in-stock orders, $50 or more, I believe. And why are they doing that? I believe it's probably because people keep complaining about Premium Bandai's $10 shipping, right? People are like, why are you charging $10 shipping when, like, Big Bad Toy Store has a $4 shipping thing? Amazon has free shipping, you know, like $10 shipping is a lot, man. Like the Fighter of Rage Goku, for example, $65 is the listed price. But then you got to pay $10 shipping, which makes it $75. Then you got to pay the taxes, which will probably make it like $80. So you really got to pay $80 for that Goku. $80. That's dang near $100 for that Goku, right? Why? Why, right? Why is one Goku $35 and this one's $80? You know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I believe Bandai sees what we're saying, but will they actually have the guts to, like, change their horrible business model? That is the real question, right? We don't need a little crumb here, a little best selection there, and a little free shipping here. The SHF Dragon Ball line needs a complete overhaul in the price department, like a complete like a reset. We need to, like, reset this whole thing, because it's just like, it's heading nowhere good fast. This whole thing needs to be reset. Like, the standard that they've set is not a good one, okay? And it's kind of like, the way their business model is like a gateway drug, because the fact that they have some figures really, you know, kind of cheap, right? $35, right? You go to Target or Walmart or Amazon or whatever, you see some $35 Goku, you're like, oh, that looks cool. You buy that, right? And then of course you've started collecting. So now you want to get other characters. You want to get Piccolo, you want to get Trunks, you want to get Gohan. But then you quickly find out, oh, Piccolo's like $70, $80, $100. Gohan is like $65, $70. Trunks is like $80. So it's kind of like, if you want to keep collecting them, you already bought the Goku for $35. So now if you want to get the whole Z Fighters, you know, group or whatever, you got to spend $80 on Piccolo. You got to spend $60 or whatever on Gohan. You got to spend $80 on Trunks. You know, it's kind of like a gateway drug. They kind of lure you in with those so-called budget figures, and then you're kind of stuck if you want to keep collecting, right? So I personally would say, I think it would be better for Bandai's reputation and to mitigate frustration if every SHF was like $50, right? Instead of some being $35, others being $60, others being like $100, like this Glorio nonsense. Because since some of them are cheap and others are so expensive, it increases frustration, because people are going to compare and be like, wait a minute, why is this Goku $35, but Zarbon is $80? Why? Why can't Zarbon also be $35? You know, if they all had the same base price or very similar prices, then there wouldn't be that extreme contrast to highlight or to, like, inspire more frustration, right? It makes people ask these questions. And yeah, if they were all the same price or very similar prices, we would just be like, okay, this is the price of an SH Figuarts. They're like generally $50 or whatever, instead of being like, oh, this one's 35, that one's like 100, you know? But anyway, so the point of this video though is not for every SHF to have the same price. That is not really my goal with the tier list necessarily. So let's begin, right? First, we're gonna look at Storm Arena Ryu. This is an absolutely impeccable figure that puts, I mean, it puts probably, let's say 95% of SH Figuarts Dragon Ball figures to shame, okay? You cannot show me a Goku that looks this good. You can't. Even Legendary Super Saiyan Goku, which I think is probably the best looking Goku on the market right now because of battle damage and stuff, even that does not have this level of artistry. This looks like a statue. This looks like someone made a premium statue and just added joints to it, okay? This is going to be the baseline for our comparison. First, we're going to talk about the sculpt, right? As I was saying just now, incredible sculpt detail. This thing looks amazing, okay? This is true figure art, okay? The name is Figuarts, but most of them don't look like art. Not like this, not this kind of art. And they should, okay? And not only the face sculpts look incredible, but even the body, because like say Lowest Born Saiyan, right? Lowest Born Saiyan Goku has pretty anime accurate, you know, good head sculpts, but the body looks very basic and generic. You know, the body doesn't strike you as like, wow, that's like crazy detail. Look at that. You know, it's like, it's a very basic body, right? But in this case with Storm Arena, not only the head sculpt looks phenomenal, but also the body looks impeccable, okay? This is what SH Figuarts should look like. SH Figuarts should look like this. When you buy an SH Figuarts, you should be getting a figure that looks like this, okay? This should be the standard. This should be the standard. This would make sense for the name SH Figuarts, okay? It looks like a masterpiece, a work of art. That's what they should be. But most of the time they're not. Oh, and I was gonna say, this is the game. This is the, like, you know, character art from the Street Fighter Alpha game, right? And you see it looks, I mean, honestly, the figure looks better than the game. And then this is from the Street Fighter Alpha movie, right? Look at this, right? Look how awesome that figure looks. Look how much it captures that, like, that clean, crisp, like beautiful anime art style, right? It looks incredible. No $35 SHF figure can compare to this. You cannot show me a $35 SHF figure that can compare or compete with this in any sense at all. The closest thing you could get is like Lowest Born Saiyan with the head sculpts, but the body just does not compete. The body of Lowest Born Saiyan cannot touch this in any sense, okay? Compared to this, SH Figuarts generally look very generic and basic. If you really compare them, right? Look at this, and then look at your Saiyan Risen Earth Goku, right? Look at this, and then look at your DAIMA Goku. Look at this, then look at Lowest Born Saiyan. They cannot compete with this. The price of this figure was $30, right? It's approximately 6 inches tall. You get 2 head sculpts, 4 hands, 1 effect piece with the Hadouken thing. You get a stand for the effect piece, and you get a stand for the figure. When is the last time that Bandai included a stand for a figure? Probably the like 40th anniversary Broly and Cooler or something. They might have had stands, but those were like, you know, exclusives or whatever. They're not like general $35 figures. When is the last time a $35 SHF figure had a stand included with it? I don't know if that's ever happened. I literally don't know. I'm not sure. Has that ever been the case? Even like the 1.0s? Did any of the 1.0 SH Figuarts ever had stands? I don't know. Well, no, I mean the $35 ones, you know, if they were $35 at that time, I don't know. But this is great value. You know, this is great value because although you get a bit less like hands and face plates or face sculpts, You get the effect piece, you get the stand for the figure, stand for the effect piece, and then the sculpt, the detail of the sculpt, just to me, it makes it worth it. That alone is so incredible that everything else is kind of like, you know, just a bonus at that point. It's just a bonus stuff, right? Let's look at Games Begin Goku. So we saw before Ryu compared to his art, right, from the movie, right? See how the figure looks like the movie. The figure looks fantastic. The movie looks fantastic, right? Let's look at Games Begin Goku compared to the manga and the anime, right? So Games Begin Goku, the so-called greatest Goku ever to many people, it does not have the it factor that it should. When you look at this figure, you don't feel like, wow, that looks straight out of the anime, man, straight out of the manga. Like you don't get that feeling because it doesn't capture that sharp, beautiful aesthetic. It doesn't capture that. It has kind of like a generic feeling to it. Like some of the face sculpts look pretty good in certain lighting and stuff like that, of course, but it doesn't strike you as like, this thing looks like I literally just grabbed Goku out of the manga and he was an action figure, right? That is what it should look like. Games Begin Goku should look like a plastic version of this. This is what it should look like. This right here. It's even called Games Begin. This is the beginning of the games, the beginning of the Cell games. When I look at this manga panel and I look at the SH Figuarts, I should be like, wow, it looks exactly like it. This is crazy, you know? But you don't feel that way because it doesn't, okay? Like, yeah, for example, some third-party head sculpts, you know, kind of capture that feeling. I feel like even the third party though, even some of the third party stuff, like even though it's really good, I think SH Figuarts figures really suffer from a lack of shading, because if we go back to Ryu here, like there's so much, like his muscles have this like shading going on there, and like the gi has this texture on it, and like there's some darkened parts and stuff, and like it really brings the figure to a whole other level. But look at Games Begin Goku, the only shading is right here on the legs. Like that's so weird. Why? Just right there on the legs. Everything else is just plain plastic, just plain basic plastic, you know, just so plain. If this had some shading, it would probably make it look way better, right? Like there's a guy on Instagram, I think it's called AVT Customs, and when he makes custom figures, he gives them like this really incredible shading, and it really makes the figures look like really good, you know? So I feel SH Figuarts really suffer from a lack of shading. It makes them look so much more basic than they should. So yeah, Games Begin Goku should look exactly like this, okay? If you want a figure that has kind of this generic, you know, like, you know, not that super sharp detailed look, leave that to Dragon Stars. Let that be Dragon Stars, right? But when you're talking about SH Figuarts, right? We buy SH Figuarts because we want the best figures possible, right? We buy SH Figuarts because we want this. This is what we want. We want this in a action figure, but we don't get that, okay? SH Figuarts should look like art. I mean, it's just common sense, right? No genericness, just true to the source material. If you're making Games Begin Goku, make it look like this manga panel right here. Okay, that is the Games Begin Goku. The Games Begin Goku should look like that, right? Let's continue now. And the manga, the anime, of course, is like very similar to the manga here. Doesn't look like that either. Games Begin Goku doesn't look like this either, does he? No, he doesn't. He has this big banana yellow hair, and like, well, I mean, this hair is kind of yellow too, but it doesn't have that sharpness and the shape and the detail, and it just doesn't pop. It doesn't pop like these do. Okay, look at this. This is such beautiful art, right? This should be figure art, okay? Let's look at these face sculpts. Notice how the SHF has those like soft features, right? That is not how the anime and manga look. They look sharp, detailed, and visually beautiful. Look how beautiful this is, right? Just looking at it is a good experience. You know, just looking at it is a wonderful experience. This too. When you look at this, is like, you know, it looks pretty good, I guess. You know, it's not like it's not trash, you know, but It doesn't give you the same feeling as this. Imagine an action figure that actually looked like this. That would be crazy. That's what SH Figuarts should be. But they're not, right? They're not. And for me, it kind of feels like I've been lied to. It feels like I've been lied to because for quite some time, I was under the impression of like, oh, SH Figuarts, man, they look like the anime. They look whatever. And then now that I'm really taking the time to compare these things, I'm like, no, they actually don't. They actually really don't. They look very generic, very basic. They don't look like this. They don't look like, and it kind of saddens me. It's like, this doesn't even exist. Like, this is not even, I can't even find Hot Toys making this or something. Like, it just doesn't exist. There is no Goku that looks like this. It doesn't exist, you know? Like these, you know, this doesn't look like an incredible recreation of the art, okay? But the thing is, the weird thing is, the upsetting thing is, Bandai can do better. Bandai could make this. I believe they could make this, but they don't, at least not for SH Figuarts, as you will see later. Third-party head sculpts, right? If SHF looked like a perfect recreation of the anime and manga, we wouldn't need third-party head sculpts. We wouldn't need this if Legendary Super Saiyan Goku already looked like this, right? We wouldn't need this if the Super Saiyan 2 Goku already looked like this, right? But we need these because they make this generic soft feature nonsense. I don't want it, you know, I don't want that. I want something better. I want Bandai to make stuff that looks like this or better. This is what Bandai should be making. This is what SH Figuarts should be. For the prices they ask, you want $65 and you're going to give me this? I mean, of course, this is like a $35, but Legendary Super Saiyan Goku is similar face style, you know? You want $65 for this? No, I want this. If you want $65 from me, I want my Goku to look like this. That's what I want for $65. If you want $65, I want that as an action figure. That's what I want, okay? Just continuing here. This does not look, as I said, this is the same notes as before, it's fine. But yeah, third-party stuff, here we go. So notice how these third-party head sculpts, like they pop, right? They capture that sharpness of Toriyama's art much better, right? When you look at these, your eyes are like pleased. You're like, wow, man, look at that. It looks like the manga, it looks like the anime. Like, that is spot on stuff. Look how sharp the jawline is, right? This is what SH Figuarts should look like, okay? Or even better, right? Not with that soft, generic stuff, okay? Leave that, as I said, leave the generic, soft, whatever stuff for Dragon Stars, okay? SHF needs to look like I have the manga in my hand. Figuart. I want Figuart. I don't want this. I don't want this generic basic stuff. I want this from Bandai. That is what I want from Bandai. You want $65? Give me that, okay? Another example of a third-party head sculpt that should have no reason to exist. This should have no reason to exist because Bandai should already be making head sculpts of this quality. This is the quality Bandai should be making. The reason third-party head sculpts are so popular, so widely sought after, is because Bandai gives us this, which does not feel like the manga. It does not feel like the anime. It does not make you feel like you have Toriyama's art in your hand, okay? We need this from Bandai. You want $65? Give me that, not this, okay? And as I said, they exist because Bandai leaves a lot to be desired, right? People want to have the anime in their hands, okay? And Bandai does not provide that to the highest level, to the best of their ability. They do not. When you look at Storm Arena, let's go back to that. When you look at this, it's like there isn't much way to even improve on this. It's like, this is perfect. Like, You can't even make this better, I don't think, you know, like this just looks fantastic. You can tell Storm Arena, they give that effort, man, where they're like, we're gonna make this thing look absolutely jaw-droppingly perfect. And they do. But Bandai gives you this compared to this. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want this or better from Bandai. Okay? And another thing I want to mention is it's kind of weird, like Bandai seems to give like third-party level head sculpts to other anime, but with the Dragon Ball, they almost always don't make the protagonist look perfect. The best they've made for Goku, as I said, I believe is lowest born Saiyan. But look at this Gohan figure, right, from Hunter x Hunter. It looks exactly like the anime. Like, I don't even think you can improve on this. Like, it looks just like the anime, right? Spot on. I mean, it's literally like, you might even look better than the anime, right? So why can they make him look like this, just like the anime, spot on perfection, but you can't make Goku look like this? You can't make Goku look like this? You can't make Goku look like this? Why not? Why does Goku have to look generic and basic compared to the manga and the anime? Why? And then Gohan over here in his little green clothes has to look perfect. No, I want Goku to look perfect like this too. Okay? And there are a million Gokus. It's not like if you make the great Goku, you can never make another Goku. You know how many looks for Goku there are? How many different outfits? You got Yardrat Goku, End of Z Goku, GT Goku. I don't know, you could make different versions of it, I don't know, whatever, but I want my Goku to look like this, okay? This is what I want from my Goku. I want him to look like this. Perfection. I want the anime in my hand as an action figure, not this. Not this generic stuff that doesn't pop, okay? It doesn't pop. It doesn't have that life to it, right? It doesn't have that artistic life. And look at this. Bandai can, indeed, they can make the it factor sculpts. They can do it. SHF should look like this Figuarts Zero statue. Look at this statue. Look at this statue. Look how incredibly detailed that is. Look how spot on it looks to the real Goku right here. And then look at this mess over here. Look at this. Seriously, look at this. Do you think that is worthy of a name like SH Figuarts, man? No, it's not. Look at that. Really look, compare that to this or this. This looks exactly like the actual art right here, right? See how cool that looks? SH Figuarts should look like this. This is what they should look like. This is what SH Figuarts should look like. Action figure versions of this stuff. It's even called Figuarts Zero. So why does Figuarts Zero look better than Figuarts? Because I mean, zero is even less than one. Why does the one that's less than one look better than the actual one? Like, that's just weird. Figuarts Zero looks like this, like breathtaking statue straight out of the anime. And then this is the SH Figuarts? No, it's unacceptable, man. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Like, it's honestly, like, it's actually like upsetting to see. I'm like, seriously? So you're making this as a statue, and then this is the figure you give me for like $62? No, man, like, no, right? You think this is worth $62? Look at this. Really look at this. Look at the source material. Look at the source material. Look at this artwork. And then look at this. You think that is worth $62? No. You want $62? You give me this as an action figure. That's what I want for $62. If you give me this as an action figure, I'd be like, okay, this thing looks flipping incredible. Like, this might be worth the $62, man. But this? No, this basic plain thing, like no shading on it. The hair is not even like, the hair doesn't even look as big or anything. Like, what is this? What is this? No, this is not to be called Figuarts. That is very basic and generic. What is that, right? So yeah, It honestly looks like very little effort went into sculpting it, as I put here, like very little effort. It doesn't look like someone took the time to really capture the artwork and really refine the features. No, it looks like someone just, you know, did something in Blender and was like, hey, there's a head sculpt, there you go. You know, so basic for $62. And honestly, like, it looks kind of like this right here. I mean, this is a bit of an exaggeration, but like this right here, see how basic that looks? It really does look like that, right? As I said, I'm only partially kidding here. Like, it looks like this, very basic, very generic, very plain, not much features. Look at that. It more so resembles this than this, but this is what we want, right? I would think any collector would say, I want this, right? Would you not rather have this as a figure than this thing over here? Look at this, seriously. Would you not want to have this in your hand as an action figure? Yes, of course you would. Of course you would. This is what SH Figuarts should be, okay? Let's touch on Gohan, right? This part is actually very upsetting for me. Like, it actually, like, I feel enraged just thinking about this. So upset about this. So, since Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan is my favorite Dragon Ball character, I wanted to throw Gohan in here too, right? The SHF Gohan that surpassed Goku or whatever looks nowhere near as good as it should. Nowhere near. Look at that basic looking face there, and then look at the manga here. Does that look like a spot on recreation of the manga? Does that look like figure art to you? No. Look at that basic generic face there, man. And then look at this. Look at this beautiful art. This beautiful art. Does it capture that? Does it capture the feeling of that? When you look at this figure, do you feel like, wow, so beautiful? Look at the detail and the lines and the colors are vibrant. And no, of course not. Compare that to this. This is what SH Figuarts should look like. SH Figuarts should look like articulated action figures of this. That's what they should be. What was his price? Was his price like was it like 55? It might have been 60 something. You want 60 something dollars for this? For this? No. Unacceptable, man. Unacceptable. And it's weird because like I never noticed how poorly made a lot of SH Figuarts are from in the sculpting department until very recently. I was like, and I started looking at the manga and stuff and really focusing and thinking about this more. I'm like, wait a minute. This is what we should be getting. This doesn't look like this. This looks like a child drew it or something, you know? Like, what is this? This basic mess. What is this? Right? So it's because of Bandai's laziness and cheapness that third-party head sculpts are a thing, like a big thing. If Gohan already looked like this from Bandai, why would we need Air, HM, or whom or whoever? Like, why? We wouldn't really need that stuff. Unless they were giving us like extra expressions or something, but we wouldn't really need them. But we need them because Bandai's making this nonsense for $60+ $60+ for this? When you're supposed to be making this? No. Absolutely not. No, man. No. So yeah, third-party head sculpts and stuff, they might not even exist if Bandai made SH Figuarts look like figure arts, okay? Instead of this generic stuff they have here. Really, look how basic that looks compared to the manga. It's just not even, there's no comparison. And you want over $60 for this? No. And look how this third-party head sculpt puts SHF to shame. Look at this. It captures the manga much more closely than the SHF one does. Look how basic that is. And compare it to this. Seriously. Right? This should not be the case. Third-party head sculpts should not make Bandai look that bad. Bandai should already look like this, or better. Okay? SH Figuarts should already look like this or better, right? Why do people buy third-party head sculpts like crazy? Because they know that Bandai does not do the best they could, and they usually don't capture the source material to a high level. They almost always make generic, basic stuff. That's why people buy these head sculpts and stuff, because they know this doesn't look that great. It doesn't look incredible. It doesn't, blow you away. You're not like, wow. No. Look at that. Let's look at Super Saiyan 2 Gohan as well. Now, this is just embarrassing. This is so upsetting to me. This is so, like, disappointing for me. I mean, this is my favorite Dragon Ball character here. And he looks like the bad Dragon Ball Super art. He looks like the bad Dragon Ball Super animation. Literally, this looks like the bad animation from Dragon Ball Super, the early episodes. You can't tell me this doesn't look like atrocious. Like, you can't tell me that. You cannot tell me this does not look hideous. I mean, like, looking at it now, I'm like, what the heck? And this at, I think it was SDCC, was for $90 with the Ghost Goku. $90. $90 for this. Are you serious? $90 for this? Right? And once again, it's not like Bandai doesn't have the skill to make incredible stuff. They do. Look at this Gohan right here. Look at this, right? This is Figuarts Zero as well. Look at this. Why doesn't he look like this? Why does this not look, even the hair looks weird. Why does he not look like this? Look how cool he looks over here. Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan to me looks so cool. Like, so cool. But this figure doesn't look cool. It doesn't look cool. It looks basic. It looks weird. It doesn't even look like Gohan, really. It looks just like someone drew some eyes and a mouth, and that was it. Like, it just looks so basic. Like, he should look like this. The SH Figuarts Super Saiyan 2 Gohan should look like this or better. This is what it should look like. You want $90 with a Ghost Goku? Give me this. Give me that. Don't give me this generic mess here, okay? But they choose to make SHF look like basic nonsense instead of making them what they should be. Articulated, statuesque art. This is what SH Figuarts should look like. Or better. This one isn't like, I don't think it's perfect because it has some weird texture on there. I don't know what that is, but you see the vision. You see the vision, right? SH Figuarts should look like this. Not this. This is SH Figuarts for $90? When I have Storm Arena for $30 looking like a statue? No. No. The SHF should be an articulated version of this. This is what SH Figuarts Super Saiyan 2 Gohan should look like. An articulated version of that. Not this, okay? The SHF literally looks like a child drew Gohan and they made it into a figure. Anyone could draw that, okay? Your aunt could draw this. Look at how basic that doesn't require any skill to draw. Look at that. There's no like artistry there. There's no life to this. There's no vibrancy here, okay? No vibrancy. It doesn't have the life this has. It doesn't have that life to it. Looks just dull, plain, and basic, right? They want insane amounts of money for this? No. No, 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 no. You have to really think about this stuff, man. It's called figure arts and they look like this. When you can also, you have the ability to make this, right? And you're giving us this for $90 with a Ghost Goku that looks basic? No, man. Figure arts. No, this is not figure art, man. Come on, man. Anyways, let's look at Games Begin Goku's price and accessories, right? Price is $38 to $40 basically. Height, approximately 5.7 inches. So was that 0.3 inches shorter than Ryu basically. 2 hair sculpts, 4 face sculpts, 10 hands, no effect pieces, no stands for an effect piece, and no stand for the figure. Okay, So I mean, I think this price, like the $35 ones, typically are decently priced for the value and stuff like that, except the little mini figures. They should be like $20 or something. So these are the differences between Ryu and Goku, right? Goku has 2 more face sculpts than Ryu does. Goku has 6 more hands than Ryu does, so that's a lot of hands. But Ryu has an effect piece and a stand for it, but Goku doesn't have any of that. And Ryu also has a stand for him, but Goku doesn't, okay? So I think because of like Goku having more hands and more face sculpts, they kind of balance out as far as value goes. And keep in mind that I'm not even, with the whole pricing thing that we're gonna do later, I'm not even like factoring in the sculpt detail, because of course, Ryu here mops the floor with Games Begin Goku. He just mops the floor. There's no competition there, okay? There's no contest between this Ryu as far as sculpt goes and detail and this Goku, okay? There's no contest there. So if I were to factor that in, I would have to reduce the price of these even further. But that would make things a bit too complicated, because some figures do have really good sculpts, like King Cold, for example. I think King Cold's sculpt work is really good. It would help to have some shading on him, but the sculpt work does look pretty solid on King Cold, for example. So, and like Cooler, Final Form Cooler too, you know, for example. So yeah, I won't factor the sculpt work in, but just know that I'm being generous in this pricing calculation because I'm not factoring in how much better the Storm Arena sculpt is, okay? So here are the rules for the tier list pricing, okay? For normal size characters like Ryu, like, you know, think about like Vegeta, Goku, Trunks, Piccolo, those kind of people, right? Based on Ryu, a normal sized adult figure with 2 face sculpts, 4 hands, an effect piece with a stand, and a stand for the figure is $30. That is our like anchor. That is our control, our base, you know, framework that we're working from. And then we're gonna judge everything else based on that as the standard, okay? Anything less than that lowers the price. So if a figure has everything here except for the 4 hands and it has nothing else, then that would lower the price, right? If it has anything more than this, that would increase the price, okay? So each figure will be judged based on the base price for its size. I will then either add or subtract money based on what it includes. I won't make you sit through watching me calculate all of these, okay? But I just want you to know the rules so the tier list makes sense when you see me make it. Right? You're going to understand how I arrived at these numbers. Now for larger characters, based on Storm Arena Sagat, which is 8.9 inches tall, larger characters with the same accessories will be worth $40. People like Broly, King Cold, etc. That'll be their starting price. The starting price will be $40, and then you'll either increase or decrease it based on the accessories and stuff like that, okay? Sagat's accessories aren't the exact same as Ryu. He doesn't have a stand for his effect piece. I think it like, because it attaches to his leg or whatever. But we'll use 40 for simplicity, okay? Now for small characters, Storm Arena doesn't currently have any small characters. But since Sagat is $40 compared to Ryu's $30, we will put the small characters at $20. Okay, think of figures like Mini Goku, Goku's ridiculously overpriced friend, Teen Gohan, Mini Vegeta, etc. I know that like Teen Gohan's bigger than Mini Vegeta and all these aren't the same size exactly, but let's not overcomplicate it. If they're small, they'll start at 20 as their like base price, okay? Now for giant characters, for like, you know, really massive characters like Purunga, Shenron, Great Ape Vegeta, that kind of stuff, I'll try to think of something reasonable. My gut is saying like 80 to 150 range, but that might change when I do the math or think about it more. For large accessories, okay, when evaluating things like effect pieces and props, I'll try to accommodate for like how large they are. So like obviously a large Kamehameha beam like what Perfect Cell has would be worth more than a small ball effect, okay? I'll say a small accessory is worth about $5 probably, I'll go with, and a large one is anywhere from like $10 to $20, right? Depending on the size of it and so on. Finally, we have the hands and faceplates, okay? So each pair of hands will be worth $2, $1 per hand. Each faceplate or face sculpt will be worth $2. Each stand will be worth $2. If a character has multiple hair sculpts or interchangeable heads, like bald characters, each hair sculpt or head sculpt will be worth $4. Note that I could deduct value from SHF because their sculpts are 95% of the time not as good as Storm, but as I said earlier, I'm not gonna factor that in just to keep it simple. I won't make a tier list of the entire SHF line, just some key figures that I think should be highlighted, okay? Now, with all of that said, all the rules out of the way, you have full context, you know how I'm gonna get these numbers, how I'm gonna calculate them, what is worth what. It is time for me to make this tier list. Well, I'm gonna calculate the numbers basically, and then show you reveal what the numbers should be in a tier list, okay? So I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I cranked the numbers and the results are in, okay? And some of these are like not that bad, but others are just so abysmal. Like, you're gonna be completely shocked at how much these figures really should be valued versus what Bandai is just like scamming us with, okay? But I'm gonna do this in two parts. So I didn't want to make like a tier list chart thing that was like had like a bunch of levels to like not fit on the screen properly or whatever. So we're gonna start with the cheaper figures first, and then we'll do the more expensive figures after. Like, so a part two will be the most expensive stuff, okay? So first is gonna be, of course, the lowest level right there, the $25, okay? So according to my calculations, one of these figures should really actually be only $25. And can you guys guess which one it is? Like, of all these figures here, what do you think is worth $25? Okay, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to guess. Type your guess in the comments. What is the $25 figure, right? 5 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi. Have you guessed yet? It's not that difficult to guess this one, I don't think, but probably some of you will get it wrong, I would assume. So the cheapest figure here is DAIMA Mini Goku, $25, okay? Based on my calculations, the size of it, it started out at the $20 base price, and you know, I considered like the accessories and all that kind of stuff, and based on that, this should be $25. So if you bought this at full price, that is a $10 scam because the retail price for this is $35. So Bandai scammed you out of $10 if you bought this at full price, okay? And at the end of all of this, I'm gonna give you like the scam total. Like, if you bought all of these figures for the prices that we're comparing them to, and in contrast to the calculations that we've done here, I'm gonna tell you just how much money total you would have been scammed out of, okay? So Goku Mini's out of the way. The next figure is $29. Can you guess who is worth $29? Okay, is it Goku's expensive friend? Is it Bardock, Piccolo Mini? What do you think it is? Right? I'm gonna give you just a few seconds to guess. Type your guess, and if you guess it correctly, then that's pretty cool. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. The $29 figure is this ridiculous thing here, Glorio, $29. That is what that figure should be valued at, $29. And it's funny because the base price for a figure of this size, according to like our calculations, right, is $30. So this is even worth less than that. It is worth less than that, okay? Like, no. $100 they're asking for this thing. Well, I guess technically 95. So this would be a $66 scam. Okay, that's a $66 scam. Someone can keep track. I'm gonna total it all in the end, but you can like keep adding them up if you want to. $66 scam for Glorio. Next we have the $33. Okay, we have two $33 figures. No, only one. Okay, yeah. One $33 figure. So one of these figures is worth $33. Now this one is going to like blow you away. Like, you're going to be like, there's no way that's $33, dude. Like, there's no way. But yeah, I mean, if you compare this to Storm Arena, one of these figures is worth $33. And I'm going to say I can almost completely guarantee that no one's gonna guess which figure is worth $33. Gonna give you a few seconds. What do you think it is? $33 figure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The $33 figure, right, is actually Broly full power. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. This figure should be $33. And I'll explain it for you, because someone is going to be like, oh, he's just trolling. No, I'm not trolling, man. Like, I actually sat down for like hours, like from yesterday and today. I think it was yesterday. I started yesterday. And I sat down for hours calculating these things, comparing the accessories, assigning values to things, all that stuff. And this figure came out to $33. So I'll explain it to you real quick, right? Base price for this figure is $40 because it's big like Sagat, right? So the starting price is $40 for this figure, okay? It has 3 face sculpts, 4 hands, and that's it. It has nothing else. It literally has 3 face sculpts and 4 hands, okay? So 3 face sculpts minus the 2 face sculpts that Ryu has, or Sagat would have, whichever, right? Will leave you with 1 extra face sculpt than the base price. So that's $2, right? So that will put it at $42, okay? Then it has 4 hands, but Ryu has 4 hands, so it doesn't gain any value there. So that's $0, right? It stays at 0, so it stays at 42. Then it has no effect pieces. It has no stand for an effect piece, and it has no stand for the figure. So that puts it at, let's see, so that's 42, and then 42 minus 5. Yeah, 42 minus 5 is 37, right? 37 minus 2 is 35, and then 35 minus 2 is 33. So this figure is actually truly worth, if Bandai was a fair and just company who didn't see us as nothing but breathing wallets, this would be a $33 figure. Yeah, so that one is the most baffling to me so far, at least. I mean, it might be the most baffling one of all. But yeah, so full power Broly should be $33, okay? Based on the accessories, the size of it, and so on. So if you bought that for $100, which is like the usual price on like Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, that kind of stuff, that is a $67 scam. You're being scammed out of $67 by Bandai, okay? Now, the next figure is worth $34. There are actually 2 figures worth $34. Can you guess which? Let's guess, one of them. You can guess both, of course, but like, we're going to do one at a time. Is it Mini Piccolo, Adult Piccolo, Zarbon, Midoriya? What do you think is worth $34? Okay, I'm going to give you a few seconds to guess. Type your guess in the comments. What do you think is worth $34 here? It's 2 figures. I'm going to give you, like, I'm giving you a little hint. There's 2 figures at least. You can guess twice and be wrong twice. So $34 for 2 of these figures. What do you think it is? Or they are? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The first figure that is worth $34 is Mini Piccolo. Okay? Mini Piccolo, worth $34. Worth more than the full power Broly because it has accessories, has a bunch of head sculpts and stuff, so that increased the value, right? So $34 for Mini Piccolo. The current retail or asking price for this is like $60, so that is a $26 scam, okay? The next figure worth $34 is, this one is egregious. This, man, I would once again, I would almost 100% guarantee that no one is going to guess this one correctly. Like, no one's going to guess this one. Like, I doubt anyone will, okay? The next $34 figure out of all of these here, okay, is Metal Cooler. Metal Cooler's a $34 figure. That's what it really is, actually. Okay, so if you bought Metal Cooler for the full price $120, you were scammed out of $86. That is an $86 scam, okay? Because based on the size of it, based on the accessories, this works out to be a $34 figure. Not $120 and all that nonsense. This is a $34 action figure. That's what it is. It's basically a WWE Ultimate Edition. That's what it is. It's not, it's weird because, people call these figures like premium and high-end figures and whatever. These are not, dude, when you really look at these things, right, and compare them to like the statues Bandai could make, and even look at the original source material and see like how they don't have that wow factor, it's like, these are not that incredible. They only seem incredible because we haven't seen better figures yet, but better figures are possible because these are not sculpted as well as they could be. And as you saw earlier, I mean, Bandai themselves can make statues that look incredible, but they don't do that for SH Figuarts. They give us this generic plain stuff and call it premium. Oh, this is high end, 120. No, it's not. This is not premium stuff, okay? This is like, they're good action figures, but they're not like, oh my goodness, like $120. No, dude, no, just because you put some silver paint on it, no, okay? So let's continue now. Next, we're gonna have two $35 figures. So two figures in this, tier list pricing thing actually did work out to exactly $35. So Bandai was onto something with that number, it seems. Can you guess which two they are? Which two figures in these options here do you think are worth $35? I'm gonna give you a few seconds once again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you made your guess? Two figures, right? The first one is going to be Games Begin Goku. That actually worked out to exactly $35. So if Bandai had not increased the price to like 38 or 40 or whatever, this would be like a perfectly priced figure, not considering the like lack of sculpt excellency, right? This would be a $35 figure. So it is, pretty much like well priced, okay? So it would only be like a $3 scam if you bought it for like $38, right? Just a $3 scam, okay? Now, the next $35 figure is a complete and utter just, oh my man, like, it actually is one of the figures that inspired this entire video. And based on that, it is Zarbon. This Zarbon figure here, this $82 Zarbon figure is actually a $35 figure, okay? That is a $35 SHF figure. That is nothing more than that. It's not $80 and all this nonsense, no. That is a $35 figure, okay? So if you buy that, you're being scammed $47.50. That is a $47.50 scam, okay? So that is a complete scam right there. And it's unfortunate because, as I've mentioned before, the sad thing is that there is not another company in the world making like detailed, articulated Dragon Ball figures. There is nothing. There's no Storm Arena Dragon Ball. There's no Jada Toys Dragon Ball. There's no Total Anime Dragon Ball. Total Anime is making every anime except Dragon Ball. What are they making? They're making like Total Anime, Attack on Titan, Spy Family. Are they making Naruto? I don't even know. They're making so many things and not Dragon Ball. And Dragon Ball is on Crunchyroll. So why can't you make Dragon Ball? Can someone else please make Dragon Ball, okay? If we had another company making good Dragon Ball figures that could compete with SH Figuarts, they would have to stop being this greedy. The reason they get away with this is because we have no alternative. The only other thing we have is like third-party stuff. That's not official competition, in the the general worldwide market. That's not the same kind of competition as if like Storm Collectibles was making Dragon Ball or, Jada Toys or something, right? We need some other company to make Dragon Ball figures, because with a monopoly, with Bandai having this monopoly, they can charge whatever they want, and you either have to get scammed or not get the character you want. It's really that simple. And, you know, some people will say like, oh, well, Bandai has exclusive rights. No one else can make Dragon Ball figures. Well, Funko Pop makes Dragon Ball figures. They're not really truly figures, but people call them figures, you know. Funko Pop makes, so you can make Funko Pops, but you can't make Storm Collectibles or Jada Toys or something? I don't care about Funko Pops, right? Why is the only other Dragon Ball figure available Funko Pops? Come on, man. Come on, you know? Imagine, just imagine it. Imagine if Storm Collectibles revealed that they're making Dragon Ball figures, man. They honestly, Storm Collectibles is so top tier. I think they could really, like, they probably couldn't literally put Bandai out of business, but they could, like, really cause trouble for Bandai. Like, Bandai would have to be like, hold on a moment. We have a problem. And even the value of Storm Collectibles, that Storm Arena Ryu, puts, like, most SHF to shame. For $30. Imagine it, okay? So, let's continue now. Next, we're going to have... Oh, well we reached the 35. So now we're going to go to part 2 of the tier list. Okay, now we're at the upper half of the tier list. And we're going to start, just like last time, with the lowest level and work our way up to the most expensive. Of course, by the time we get to like only one left, you'll obviously know like who the one is, but still, let's go this way. So, $38 figure at this lowest level here. Which one do you think that is? Which do you think is the $38 figure? I'm honestly surprised that Goku's expensive friend is still here. Like, he's still in the runnings. Like, very surprising, but his price is also egregious anyways. But yeah, but do you think this is 38? Purunga, Daima Piccolo, King Cold, Imperfect Cell, Dodoria, Bardock. Those are the only ones left right now. Which of these is $38? Type your guess in the comments. And if you guess it right, then, hey, you get to say I was right. Right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The $38 figure out of this selection here is Bardock. That is a $38 action figure, not $75. No, that is not a $75 action figure, okay? That is a $38 action figure, okay? So if you buy that Bardock for $75, you're getting scammed out of $37, okay? Next is $40. Which figure do you think is worth $40? Take your guess. Is it Dodoria, Imperfect Cell, King Cold, Daima Piccolo, Purunga, or Goku's expensive friend? Which one is it? Type your guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The $40 figure is Imperfect Cell. That is a $40 action figure, okay? Not $75 as they ask right now on Amazon or wherever, right? That is a $40 figure. And I actually just bought this figure from Hobby Model Store's website. And it was like, I think it was basically $50 before the shipping. So I ended up paying $61.38, I think, including the shipping and taxes. So I wasn't scammed really too much. I mean, it's a $40 figure. Let's not talk about the shipping, right? So ignoring the shipping, I only paid like basically like $9.75, basically $10 more than this. So, you know, you could say a $10 scam, but it's not like it's not horrible. It's like pretty good value, I would say. Like I was delightfully surprised to get it for that price. Okay, so that is a $40 figure, and I basically paid $50 for it without the shipping. So pretty good, right? Imperfect Cell, $40. Next, we have $42. Which of these figures do you think is worth $42? We got Goku's expensive friend here, Purunga, Daima Piccolo, King Cold, and Dodoria, right? Gonna give you time to guess and think about it a bit. 5, 4, 3, 2, And the winner here is actually Goku's expensive friend. That is a $42 action figure. Okay, I'm surprised, honestly, that it's worth that much because it started out at the $20 base price. But because it has an effect piece, has a bunch of head sculpts and stuff, the value increased, right? So it went up to 42. So this is a $42 action figure, okay? Not $80, $42. If this actually was $42, I would have bought it like probably in an instant because I'd really want this look for Krillin, right? Same for Bardock. I would have bought that in a minute, but I would probably repaint the wounds to be red instead of brown because I don't know why they made them brown. It's really weird. But yeah, so $42 for Goku's expensive friend. Okay, if that was the price, would you not be fine just buying it? Of course. I mean, I would. I'd be like, yeah, 42, cool. Krillin, cool. You know, no problem. Like most of these figures, if they were these actual prices instead of the garbage that Bandai asked for, I'd have bought them. I would have bought Glorio probably. You know, like I wanted a lot of these figures. I wanted Zarbon, I wanted Dodoria, like, you know, but the prices are just insane. If these were the actual prices, you see, that's the thing, right? Like if Bandai had decent prices, I would think they would get more sales. Like more people would want the figures. They'd be like, wow, $42 for that? What a great deal. What a great figure for $42, you know? But because they're asking $80, you're like, no, dude. I'm not giving you $80 for a Krillin, okay? So $42 for that. That would be a $38 scam. Okay, if you pre-ordered that from Premium Bandai, not counting the shipping and taxes, you were scammed out of $38. Okay. Next, we have the $50 figure. Now, which of these do you think is 50? Porunga, Daima Piccolo, King Cold, and Dodoria. I'm gonna let you guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The $50 figure is Dodoria. Okay? $50. Right? If Dodoria actually was $50, I'd have no problem getting it. I'd be like, yeah, I want that Dodoria. I want that Zarbon. But for what, 165, 82.50? No. 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 Okay? No. So $50 for Dodoria. If you pre-order that Zarbon and Dodoria set, as far as Dodoria goes, you're being scammed $32.50. That's a $32.50 scam. Okay. We got the last three now. First, the $51 figure. And since these are the last three, let me get the last two. Well, all right. Yeah, the last two. Okay. The last two. When we get to the last two, we'll do something a little different. Which one do you think is worth $51? King Cold, Daima Piccolo, or Porunga? Type your guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The $51 figure is Daima Piccolo. Okay? Daima Piccolo is worth $51. Not $75. $51. And if it actually was $51, I'd be much more inclined to probably get it because I would want the cape, right? And it would be kind of cool to have like a manga colored Piccolo, you know? But for $75 when I already have Proud Namekian Piccolo, no. Okay? No. Now we have the last two. These two juggernauts, okay? These things were like Porunga 300, King Cold 150. Which one do you think is 71? We're actually worth $71. And which one do you think is actually worth 154? Gonna let you take your time to guess there. I want you to guess both at the same time though. Like don't guess one and the other, like one and then the other, like both at the same time because there are just two left. So when we show the $71 one, you already know the other one, right? So we've got two left. Guess both of them at the same time, okay? Like both figures. King Cold and Porunga. Which one is 154 and which one is 71? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. $71. The $71 figure is actually Porunga. No, I'm kidding. It's actually King Cold. King Cold is the $71 figure, and Porunga is the $154 figure, okay? So King Cold, if you bought that like I did, then you were scammed out of $79. And I actually bought it. I actually paid more than the premium Bandai price. Well, then again, you know something? I got it for like $180, including the shipping and taxes, which is probably not that. Oh, or did I pay $200? I might have paid $200 actually. I might have paid $200. So I got scammed even worse than you did if you got it from premium Bandai. But if you got it from premium Bandai, not considering the shipping and the taxes, then you got scammed out of $79, okay? That is a $79 scam on King Cold right there. And I got scammed even more than you did. I got scammed $50 more, so that would be what, a $129 scam from me, okay? I was scammed $129, but you were scammed less if you got it from Premium Bandai. Porunga would be a $146 scam. This is basically half the price that he actually was. He should be like half the price they asked for him. Okay, he should be like $154, $150, not $300. Okay, so yeah, guys, I mean, this was a very interesting project for me. I hadn't really ever thought about doing this before, like sitting down and actually trying to evaluate the true value of these figures compared to what they ask of us. And I really do thank Storm Arena for producing such incredibly detailed, amazing figures for such a great price. You know, I know like my thoughts on Storm collectibles are a bit torn because on one hand, for years they made these like 10-inch tall figures for ridiculous prices, and now all of a sudden, because of Jada Toys, they've discovered how to make great figures for a lower price. You know, I don't really like that aspect, but I do like Ryu, Ken, Sagat. You know, like, well, Sagat, he has the cone head thing, but that's like based on the actual alpha as far as I know. So yeah, I mean, the Ryu and Ken are just like incredible, you know, incredible. And Sagat looks great too. Just I prefer the like Street Fighter 2 design, you know. But yeah, so comparing these to Storm Arena, the sculpt detail, the value, the accessories and stuff, I mean, you know, Storm Arena really just highlights for me how vastly overpriced these are. So let me know which of these was the most shocking to you. For me, it was probably Full Power Broly. I do have that on pre-order, so I am like willingly being scammed now because I'm not going to cancel my pre-order. Like, I do want that Broly, you know, that's the unfortunate thing. We have no other option really right now, you know? So yeah, be sure to subscribe if you like this kind of video, you know, talking about SHF. I have other series as well on the channel, you know, every DBZ fight you can recreate and stuff like that, manga cover recreations. So yeah, thanks for watching and bye for now.